All righty, let's get into it for your Monday with the OnlyBets Sports Podcast with me, SternBets, looking to get started. Hopefully, we have Drew coming in a little bit later, but got a great day of sports ahead of us. Just some injury news to talk about a little bit here is Mookie Betts out for the Dodgers, and more critically, Hunter Brown out for Houston. That's going to create some an already taxed bullpen getting into an even worse situation, having to fill in for their ace. So something to look out for. Hopefully that they're able to get through. But if you're looking for games that are going to be kind of maybe higher scoring later in the innings, maybe that's a place to look for. Houston has been allowing a lot of runs as it is. Looking forward to today. We got very small slate in the NBA and NHL. We're just going to break it down. I got a pick here on the San Jose Sharks. That's going to make Drew happy, I think, but going to have to wait to hear his opinion. Looking at the Lightning Buffalo, I think that the sharp money may be on the under there. Seattle, Winnipeg. But again, San Jose Sharks for the 60-minute money line. I think that creates a lot of value for us here. They're facing the Blackhawks, who are coming off a great win, but 4 bad losses before that. And the Sharks coming off a bad loss, but great 4 wins before that. So literally on the opposite trajectories. But I think that the 4 losses in the of the last 5 for Chicago has been more of the season's mean. Their defensive zone turnovers are absolutely atrocious, and the Sharks have a very high-powered offense led by Celebrini, who should be able to take advantage of this. They have the better goalie. They have the better offense. They have the better defense across the board. I think the Sharks are the play here. I took this at plus 105 on the 60-minute money line. So if it goes into overtime, we lose. If this is moved past maybe minus 105 or worse, I would pivot to a half unit on the plus 150 or better puck line. I would say I think that's a really solid look. If you're looking to kind of get action on this, I think the Sharks should blow out Chicago. And if you're looking back at all these losses for Chicago, very rarely do they keep it within one score. The only one game in their losses here in the last 5, Winnipeg, they lost 4-3, which I think was a little bit shocking. But they lost 6-1 to the Rangers, if that's indicative to anything, 3-5 to the Jersey, and then 1-3 to Edmonton, who has their own issues defensively as well. Yeah. So anyway, Sharks three-way money line plus 105. Working into the NBA, also a very small slate here. I kind of like it though. Detroit, Orlando, that was interesting to me. I know that Detroit in the motivation factors, if you're looking at the two teams, Orlando needs to win this game. But if we're looking at trends across teams here, that's not necessarily good for teams to cover or win the games outright. I have kind of found that angle of looking at just the motivations doesn't actually work out all that often. And we cashed this just last week. I think Detroit is the better team here. I think Cade Cunningham, they've been doing fantastic. They have one of the best defenses in the league. Orlando has not been shooting like themselves lately. And honestly, they're not that great of a team, granted. So yeah, I'm going to look at Detroit side there. It's just a lean. I put a quarter unit on the minus 2.5, but I do like Detroit to kind of get it done. The Knicks and Atlanta, I am not touching that in any any type of world. The Knicks just scare me. I am a Knicks fan, but they're not consistent. The game that I'm going to be focused on is Philadelphia at San Antonio. Philadelphia, we've talked about it. They're fool's gold, and without Embiid, they don't really have any rim deterrence. And who's going to guard Wemby? That's really, I guess, what this pick comes down to. Who's going to guard Wemby? And can anyone get through Wemby? I don't see it. I think that the Spurs win this in a blowout. I took the minus 7.5 at minus 124. I do recognize that the line has gone up to minus 8.5 and minus 9.5 in some places. I think that as long as you get the number, I mean, obviously try to get it down as best as you can, but anything under double digits, I think is a fair play here. Again, I'm in Philadelphia. I'm watching the games most nights. They don't look good. And there's only so much that Therese Maxey can really do to create opportunities for him to succeed. So yeah, give me Wemby and the Spurs all day. I think that they're one of, if not the best team in the NBA, and we're probably going to be seeing them in the finals or at least a very close race to the finals. No plays from Prince of Picks today in the NBA. He is going into the Soccer World English Championship. We're just going to jump right into it, and then I'll spend the rest of the time on baseball, which is really where I like to talk about anyway. And reminder, if you guys want to come on and talk, just request and I'll bring you on. Leicester City versus Sheffield. He's going to take Leicester City -1 on the Asian spread at -125. It's a must-win game for Leicester to have a realistic chance of avoiding relegation. Sheffield Wednesdays are winless in 35 straight. Oh my God, that is quite the stat. And also winless in 39 of their last 40 league games. If Leicester can't defeat them, they deserve to be relegated. Expect a big performance and multi-goal margin of victory. The only thing that I'll add to that is teams facing relegation in Europe is a much different story than teams that are just having a bad season in America. If you go down in relegation in Europe, you lose brands, you lose money. There's a certain there's a whole class of benefits that you lose access to. And it usually tends to lead to a lot of goals in these games as teams like to stretch out and really try to make something happen out of desperation. So yeah, I definitely like this. I'm going to be on this, and I'm looking forward to watching that. I'm assuming it's going to be in the early afternoon, so hopefully not too much time from now. All right, let's get into the MLB here. This was a really cool slate for me to look into here. Can't keep saying here. Sorry about that, guys. Getting my legs under me as I'm on vacation. We do have a 4:10 game, so day baseball. Chicago, Tampa Bay. Had the slightest of leans towards Chicago as an underdog. I just don't. I know McClanahan is really powerful and fun to watch. We saw him in his big arm last outing, but this is Chicago, and on the road, they're actually one of the better teams in the league. Jameson Talon does not impress me all that much, but he has been getting a really decent whiff rate, and people aren't getting good contact, hard contact off him. They're getting contact for sure, but not good contact. So something to look out for there. I do think that the Cubs, if they're going down early, they have a chance to really kind of put up a number here. Remember that the Rays are playing in a minor league stadium. I think it's the Yankees spring training stadium specifically. And if you get any kind of contact up in the air, you could be in trouble. To keep in mind, both of these pitchers are sporting around 45 to 50% ground ball rates. So that should spell maybe lower runs early. But the later that this game goes, the more runs that I kind of expect to see. The second game here is the one that I'm really wanting to focus on. This was my first pick yesterday. We're getting the Royals at Cleveland. I think this is a really fun matchup against two decent pitchers. I'm going to take the first 3 innings under 2.5 runs at -135. I know it's juiced. I know it is. But when you're looking at the metrics and numbers here, in the first 4 innings, for some reason, my model I've only gotten my model to do the first 4, not the first 3 yet. I'm working on it, but they've only averaged 0.67 runs. The Royals on the road, 0.67 runs this year so far, and Cleveland has yet to score at home in the first 4 innings. Michael Wacha for the Royals I mean, he's a phenomenal pitcher. I very much expect him to retain his form from last year. We've already seen him do pretty well so far this season. His underlying metrics are fantastic across the board. He has a 38.6% whiff rate, which is unsustainable for sure. 35% strikeout rate, also unsustainable. But the contact that opponents are making off him, he has a 0.0% barrel rate, which is also like all his numbers are unsustainable. But even if he gives a tenth of what he's been able to do on the mound, I think that he should be able to take care of a very sleepy Cleveland team that has not been playing well at home, and a pretty good ballpark where the weather is projected to be at 47 degrees, wind blowing right to left, and a 25% chance of rain. This is not scream runs to me. I think Michael Walker will be able to take care of them. And he does significantly better the first time around the order. Second time, he's also pretty good, but the second time in the order, he's phenomenal. He's doing great. He's been historically great. And then looking at the other side, Tanner Beebe, yeah, sure, some of those underlying metrics are a little scary to me, but he has a really good strikeout rate, really good whiff rate so far this season. And he specifically does incredibly well the first time around the lineup. The second and third time, sometimes he gets into a lot of trouble, but the first time around the lineup, he does really well. The Royals on the road is definitely a team that I'm looking to fade this year, just as it was the last 3 years that I've been capping the MLB. I think that getting the under 2.5 anything better than -145, I'll take that. That's a good deal to me. The other game that I wanted to really dive into here, Braves versus the Angels. Let me get it to the game here, but I'm going to take the first three under 2.5 at -125. I think that this is also a game that you could very well see both pitchers do well. You have Chris Sale versus Jose Soriano. Chris Sale is Chris Sale. He did not necessarily look himself last time out, but he's facing a really strikeout prone Angels team. I expect him to bounce back. If there's like a handful of players that I'm going to be putting my money on all season long, Chris Sale is definitely going to be up on that list until proven wrong. Jose Soriano has been phenomenal this year outside of his walk rate, which is concerning. So something to keep in mind. If he has a lot of walks and he can't walk himself out of the situation, could be in trouble. So I do also like the Braves in the first 5 win only -112. That's also a play of mine. But he's only allowed 2 hits in each of his first 2 games here. And you're looking at season averages. Sure, the Braves are the more explosive team, averaging 3.67 runs on the road so far in the first 5. That is a little bit concerning. But again, that's kind of unsustainable. Historically on the road, they have not been a great team at hitting. And the Angels have only averaged 0.5 runs per game so far in the first 5 innings. So I do like the first 3 and the first 5 under, but obviously the side that I want to back as well as the Braves. So I see this as 2 ways. Either it's a low scoring game and the Braves don't win the first 5 innings, and therefore our first 3 under 2.5 should cash, or the Braves blow out the Angels, and therefore at least we cash the first 5 win only. I think that we could hit both of these fairly easily. I could see a Braves 1-0, 2-0, or 2-1 type of win by the end of the first 5, which would cash everything for us. So looking to attack this in both ways. I think this is a fantastic play. So again, I'm taking the Braves first 5 money line win only at -112. And then the Braves Angels first 3 under 2.5 at -125 over on Caesars. Hey, Michael, if you want a request to come on, I'm happy to bring you in and we can kind of talk through the rest of the slate if you're interested. My home run play for the day here is James Wood. We attacked him quite a bit. He has a good matchup against Andre Palante, who is somebody that we have faded quite a bit over the years. The sinker in specifically is what I would be worried about. Wood is swinging the bat well. He is showing elite underlying metrics, and I saw this price at +480 in a decent home run environment, and I couldn't resist pulling the trigger. So that's the home run play of the day for me. Looking to get back on track. We hit the +750 or whatever, but we have yet to hit another one. So this is going to be my follow-up. But yeah, that's going to be all the plays for me, really. I could talk about a few of these games. I do like runs in a few games here. I think Philadelphia, San Francisco, that's interesting to me. I think that we could see sneaky amount of runs in that game. I do like Painter. It's really interesting and amazing to see what he has been able to do so far in the season. I don't know if it's sustainable, and I think that the Giants are going to break out one way or the other at some point. So I'm staying away from the game. Hauser could definitely get in trouble with Philadelphia. I think Schwarber, definitely a good look for a home run. That's mathematically the second favorite of my models plays. But again, I'm not going to be playing a +200 number. Yordan Alvarez actually is the number 1 pick for a home run, something that I might sprinkle live if the number gets to +3 or 400 or better. Yeah, Houston, again, like I talked about at the beginning of the show, just a little bit, they lost their ace. They're going to be filling in with their bullpen. Their bullpen has not been great, which is historically weird because they have had always a good bullpen. But they're going up against Colorado in Colorado. So I can see Houston scoring a lot of runs early and late. And then I can also see Colorado kind of sneaking in a few runs as well. They did upset Philadelphia, I think it was yesterday. And that kind of blew most people's most people's parlays, I'm assuming. Another game that I really like runs in, but I was too nervous to play because I want to see how he kind of integrates outside of cores. San Diego Padres versus Pittsburgh. This is going to be a popular one for people. I did put a quarter unit, not an official play. It's not going to show up anywhere, but I did put a quarter unit on the first 5 over 4.5 runs. I think if we see runs, it's going to be early here. Bubba Chandler, sorry, is pitching for Pittsburgh. Mixed results here. San Diego doesn't strike out all that much, and that's really been Bubba Chandler's only strength. He has an incredible 31.6% strikeout rate. He also has a 31.6 walk rate, 14.3% barrel rate, 42.9% hard hit rate. Doesn't inspire a lot of confidence. I can see San Diego kind of getting in on him. And then on the other side, German Marquez, he actually pitched okay outside of Coors Field. He, of course, pitched for Colorado Rockies, and then just got lit up. So not great environment for him last year. But when he was on the road, he had flashes of some real stuff. He definitely ruined a few people's parlays last year over and over again. He's pitching in a very pitcher-friendly environment over in San Diego. Obviously, this game is over in Pittsburgh, so that's not going to help him here. But I know Pittsburgh is in a really nice groove, just like they were, I think it was last year or the year before that, where they started off as the league's hottest team for about a month and a half before they completely fell off a cliff and then died the rest of the year. So going to be interesting to see how they can hit off Marquez, but I really kind of want to see what Marquez brings to the table. I think that he could have a sneaky resurgence of a year. Not saying that he's going to be an ace or a really good starter, but he should be able to get through 4 or 5 innings pretty reliably. I'm going to have to see some more stuff though. His strikeout and whiff rate is just atrocious right now. And the only reason why his walk rate is good is because people are hitting him so far. So going to be something to look out for, but I think that he could be better than what people expect. And that's kind of what you're looking for in the betting market in general. Not again, these are just leans. This is not an official play, but a thought that popped out to me when I was looking through the games and looking for a best bet, really. All right. Cincinnati Reds, Miami. I don't really want to get involved here. Miami has been sneaky hitting. They've actually been pretty good. Cincinnati, never know what you're going to get with them. They're kind of like a box of chocolates, if you're going to get that reference. Not interested in getting in on it. Reds at home, much more likely to want to bet on them than on the road. Yeah, and hold on, we're going to get Drew on just momentarily. I want to hear his thoughts for the day. Sorry, Woodruff versus Bayo, Milwaukee versus Boston. That's going to be an interesting one for sure. And I keep saying interesting because we're still at the beginning of the season. We're still figuring out who these teams are, what they're going to rely on. But for the best of what I can see, Milwaukee is putting together a season just like last year. Nobody expects them. They don't have any really flashy or incredible players that can really just wow you. They got rid of Freddie Peralta, which really put a dent in, I think, a lot of people's perception of the team. But again, Milwaukee plays small ball. They're successful because they push and they use whatever they have to their advantage. They bunt, they run. They are probably one of the best fundamental teams in all of baseball. And I'm not saying Boston isn't, but Boston does happen to rely a lot more on their star players. And when their star players aren't coming through, they start to get in trouble. I lean Brewers here. Maybe I would take the first five line. Bayo hasn't looked that great as of late yet. 20% barrel rate is very concerning. And while his whiff rate is at 38%, which is really, really solid, he's only getting an 8% strikeout rate. So there's clearly a disconnect, maybe in his arm, his movement. Something in him is not coming through, and he's getting lit up. Going to be interested to see how he can play against a really good contact team in Milwaukee who doesn't strike out that much. So I definitely lean Woodruff here on that side, but Woodruff also has his own concerning metrics. He's actually interesting. If you're looking at his whiff rate, it's really not great at 23.5%, but his strikeout rate is 31.6%. So he's clearly found something to be able to get more, get people to be either frozen, not swing, get strikes, but he's doing it. And then if you're looking at his barrel rate, 15.4%, also very not pretty. Hard hit rate, 30.8%, very, very pretty. So numbers are all over the place. I don't really trust him so much. I would want to see at least another month, maybe another 2-3 starts at least to see if I'm going to be able to kind of get on him. Yeah, but nothing that I wanted to really kind of take for now, but something that I did put a quarter unit on. I think the Brewers are a good team again this year, and people again are just undervaluing him based on the fact that they don't have any star players. They got rid of their ace. But again, Brewers are going to be brewing. They're going to be playing. And I'm not saying that just because I lived there for 2 to 5 years growing up. Interesting whole story there. I lived there for 5 years total, but I went to boarding school the last 2.5 years of that. All right, Drew, where are you, man? We got to hear you. Can you hear me now? Nope, not on yet. All right, I'm going to keep filibustering. We're going to go on to the next game until he can join us. Palante for St. Louis is going to be going into Washington. I could see a very high scoring game here. I don't agree with the total being set at 7.5 or 8. I think that this should be set at 8.5 or 9. Again, I don't like Palante all that much. Pitches for contact, and Washington has been sneaky good. To be fair, their bullpen hasn't been, but their offense has been hitting. So I just like runs here. I don't think either team's bullpens will be able to get them out of a jam. St. Louis hasn't been that great themselves. They've been better than everyone expected, but I think that's because everyone expected them to be bottom barrel of the league again. But again, St. Louis is one of those baseball towns where they're always going to put together a pretty competitive team for the most part. I think that they've won the second most World Series in history. So I wouldn't count them out just yet, but I do see them struggling against the Washington side that is putting up runs. And again, Washington's not stopping anyone from scoring either, so I definitely like runs on both sides. Hey, Drew, how you doing, man? Can you hear me? He's going to have to rejoin and request back. Sometimes Twitter keeps kicking people out. Looking at the next game, Dodgers, Blue Jays. This one was interesting. Mookie Betts is injured. I don't think that really interferes with the star power that the Dodgers bring. This is going to be, again, the first game that these guys are facing since facing each other in the World Series, which obviously was an incredible experience. The Blue Jays are probably nursing some hurt feelings here. Something to look back at, though, this Blue Jays team looks kind of not themselves. They just got swept by the White Sox, and they've lost 4 of their last 5 games, and that includes to Colorado, not in Coors. So I don't know what's going on with this Toronto team. Maybe they were just looking forward to this Dodger matchup, but this is going to be tough. This is going to be really tough for Toronto. I'm not touching it. I think that the line is pretty efficient. If I had a lean anywhere, I think the minus 140 that you can get on the Dodgers offers really decent value. The minus 1.5 plus 125 looks really attractive. You could also maybe look at the first 5 money line parlayed with the full game money line. Just Blue Jays haven't been playing like themselves. Max Scherzer, he's been good. He should be able to get them 6 innings. He is their guy. But you're looking at his metrics, and I'm not all that impressed. 17.4% whiff rate, 18.2% strikeout rate. I mean, that's not going to cut it against a Dodgers team that punishes pitchers that can't strike them out. 11.8% barrel rate for Scherzer combined with a good 35.3% hard hit rate is, that's just that's exactly the type of underlying metrics that the Dodgers hit really well. And then I don't really have any faith on the other side with Justin Robletsky. Um, Very low whiff to strikeout rate, 20.7 whiff, 11.8% strikeout rate. That's not anything that I want to touch. So I guess I lean over in general, but I definitely see the Dodgers scoring at least 3 or 4 runs. If I was doing a team total run parlay, that's a team that I would definitely add into it along with St. Louis probably. But again, I haven't really had success with that. I'm just going to focus on single games. And yeah, that's where I'm going to kind of leave it, and then come back to parlays once I get more comfortable within the season. But if you are looking for parlays, I do think that the Braves' first 5 money line is a good look. And if you wanted to parlay both of my first 3 totals together on an expanded line, I think that's a good look. Royals Guardians first 3 under 4.5 or 3.5. Parlay with the Braves Angels first 3 under 3 or 4.5. I think you can get that plus money, and I think that's a really good value. That's what I was originally going to, but the books didn't offer it to me last night, so I just went with the individual games, which honestly, it's never a bad look in general, just trying to get individual bets in individual games, because if you start to parlay these things, one bad night from one bad pitcher or one good bat from one good batter can really ruin your night. And I'm not interested in that. This is where we start to stack up those wins throughout the season, and parlaying too many things together can kind of ruin that flow. Baltimore White Sox. This game was interesting where I think that the White Sox are due for a negative regression here. I don't have any information for who is really going to be starting for, I think it was Baltimore. So that's not anything that I really wanted to get involved with pre-flop, I guess you would say. Grant Taylor, again, he's looked great, but 11.8% walk rate and 11.1% barrel rate, along with all the great other metrics that he has, is a little bit too nervy for me. This is someone who would potentially scream regression for me. I lean the Orioles here. I would try to see what we get maybe halfway through the game. White Sox bullpen's going to be exhausted. I don't know how much they're going to be able to keep up this incredible performance that they've done. Again, they just swept Toronto, which I thought was shocking, to say the least. Uh, I don't know how they're going to be able to keep up this incredible run of play. Keep in mind that the 2 games before the sweep of the Toronto Blue Jays, they lost 2-9 against Miami, and then 0-10 to Miami the very next day. So they're not a great team. They can hit. They can definitely maneuver about, but I don't know how they're going to be able to keep up this up. Hey, Drew, can you hear me now?
Hear you. Yeah.
Thanks for stepping in. It was hard to filibuster that long. I can only
Oh
talk
yeah.
for so long.
Yeah, I feel you. When I was like joining, it like when you try to bring me up, it would just like free like delete my app and re-download it and it worked.
Oh, that stinks. I'm so sorry, man. We really
Oh,
got
you're
to
good.
figure this out, but it's hard to figure out a new system when you have a system that basically works.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. But yeah, overall, I am excited for this MLB slate today. Uh, of course, I think there's a lot of good games. Um, I have some takes on some games. Let me see real quick. I would say we have, of course, reached. I think it's been a couple weeks now. We've like 10 to 11 games in, so we're starting we've basically, I believe, seen everybody's first start and some people's second starts already that are going. So that's good sign right there. The first game I'm going to I found the most interesting from my outplays. I've been doing really well on these outplays, of course. I did pretty well on the weekend as well. We'll go to the Mariners versus Rangers game. We have Logan Gilbert versus we have Logan Gilbert versus I like Logan Gilbert's under 17.5 outs. It was last night at plus 115 and it dropped to, I believe, plus 105 on Fanatics. I think he will keep dropping personally for Logan Gilbert. So this is one of those lines I would suggest to take now. It's not going to, of course, drop again within the next like 20, 30 minutes, but it will drop as the game gets closer to 8 p.m. Eastern. I am a fan of Logan Gilbert, but I think Vegas is too caught in the trend that he is the pitcher that he was from 2 years ago, pre-injury. I'm not saying he's by any means like a bad pitcher ERA wise. Last year was one of his best, I think, years ERA wise, but he is not the same pitcher as in going deep into games and being good deep into games. We were used to this guy pitching like 6, 7, and sometimes 8 innings multiple times. But last year, since his injury, he hasn't been the same because his first game last year, he pitched like 7 innings and then he got injured part of the season. And when he came back, believe it or not, they have a great ERA late in innings. You have a good example. 2 to 3 years ago, he had one of the best ERAs in the fifth and sixth inning. And then it's carrying on to this year too, where I mean, last year he had one of the worst in the fifth or sixth inning. It's carrying on to this year as well. If you look at Logan Gilbert, we saw it with the Yankees game. The Yankees game, they brought him back for the sixth, where he struggles, and he was just giving up runs after runs, and they decided to keep him in. He's really only good after 86 pitches now, and I think the Texas can knock him out early, especially if you look at him. His velocity has dipped like a mile per hour. He his strikeout rate's higher than ever, but it made his control kind of worse. He walks a lot of batters, and something about him as well. He'll look good in the beginning, but when I found out about his where is it right here? I found out about his like pitching splits. I have it right here. Last year, let me see. Show by inning. There we go. In fifth inning last year, he had a 4.91 ERA. In his sixth inning last year, he had a 9.5 ERA. In the seventh inning, he had a 10.8. And then I think this year it's kind of carried on as well, too. So I like Logan Gilbert under 17.5 outs.
I love that you picked up on the next game that I hadn't talked about yet. And yeah, I do tend to agree here. I'm a little bit nervous with Texas's lack of offense lately. They've scored a total of 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 runs in the last 4 games. Not great. They've scored only, no, sorry, I counted that wrong. They've scored a total of 7 runs in the last 4 games. 2 in their last 1 in their last 2 games, 4 in their last 3. Sorry, that was really confusing. But anyway, they were facing a Cincinnati team at home and they couldn't figure it out. Seattle, yeah, I mean, Logan Gilbert doesn't look himself. That's 100% true. I think that he did battle it out to a certain extent against, the Yankees. He did last 5.1 innings. I think 17.5 is a little bit too large. You can still get the plus 130 over on FanDuel, which I just played based on your advice here. This is going to be an interesting one. I didn't want to touch it personally. I just don't know what the Rangers are going to be able to do, and it's a decent pitching environment. But again, Seattle's the number 1 pitching environment, and he couldn't get it done over there. So I don't know what he's going to be able to do now outside of it.
Oh,
So yeah,
so,
I do agree with you. Oh, he hasn't pitched in Seattle yet. Sorry. What were you
oh, are you
saying?
talking about Gilbert? Yeah. Gilbert pitched in Seattle against the Yankees. They brought him back into the sixth inning. He was only able to 1 out, and he gave it like multiple runs. Um, I remember
Yeah,
in
yeah.
that game. But
And
what
he
I was going to
also
mention about the
pitched
Range.
against Cleveland. and it didn't go that well either. Sorry, go on.
Dope. Yep, exactly. They took him out after I think it was the fifth inning, as well, because Cleveland was grinding out of bats. But something I will say about the Rangers is they did really well against some veteran pitchers against the Orioles. Their offense was kind of humming against the Orioles. The Reds one, I will say, of course, it's not an excuse, but they faced some young pitchers. You know, they're not like necessarily used to pitching and pitchers with massive heat. You know, they faced like I think it was Chase Burns, Rhett Lauder, I believe, and then the last pitcher. They faced. I forgot who was. Chase Burns was the last one. They Rhett Lauder before and another one. And I just think they couldn't figure it out against the young guns, you know. And when they did face Trevor Rogers, they kind of worked him quite a bit. Trevor Rogers did go 6 innings, but they worked him quite a bit. They destroyed Chris Bassett. You know, I know Logan Gilbert's better than Chris Bassett, but they seem to do well against pitchers that don't throw 100 plus, and they throw like 95. There's positive regression here. Yeah.
Yeah, I would keep when you're watching Gilbert, watch the location of his off-speed pitches, like his slider and cutters. If he's able to locate those, he can probably have a really good game because that really sets up his forcing fastball. But the thing that I would really watch out for is how hard are batters getting contact off him. If you see 100 plus mile per hour, batted on balls, get out of there. Cash that out. Oh, I guess I should say don't cash that out. But if you see him getting really good hitters really failing to get good contact off him, that's where I would maybe bet the over on the outs, because that's really going to set up the rest of the game. If he gets through the first order or two of the line with relatively few pitches, he's going to be able to go deep into 6 innings. If he doesn't and he's struggling and people are getting hard contact, that's going to be game over for him. And that's what we saw against the Guardians. That's what we saw against the Yankees. And that's exactly what you set up. He gets past 80 pitches and he's in trouble. So yeah, I really like this play. What's your other play, man?
Yeah, and I'll say this with Gilbert. If you see after I would say innings, he's around the 45 to 50 pitch mark. That's good for us. If you see he's only around 40 pitches, that could be slight panic zone, I would say in that case. But if you see that he's like you said, he's getting hard contact against him, but also if you see locating his fastball a lot is a sign that he is struggling. And if he's walking a lot of batters, that's good. So definitely look out for that. But if he's dotting corners and stuff, then yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that that
Let me
that
see.
control was clearly off in the last game or so. And if he doesn't have control of all of his pitches, it's really hard to go deep because he relies on those to get through batters pretty quickly. And if he can't do that, he struggles. Yeah. Who else you got, man?
Yeah, definitely. The one I was looking at, I saw it yesterday, but it moved to 14.5. Was Astros Rockies. Ryan Feldner is coming back from after a glute contusion. He got hit in the backside of 106 miles per hour, but he said he's fine. But it's at 14.5 now. Under on that. I know the Astros well, but 14.5 is always a scary line, in my opinion, for that matter. And then if I would look at others, I'm looking forward to watching this Dodgers, of course, Blue Jays game. It's going to be Justin Robleski versus Max Scherzer. And then I saw Max Scherzer's line was at like 15.5. I'm still going to do a little research on that. I think this is one of those where I want to take Mad Max's under, but at the same time, because the Dodgers are just that good. Max Scherzer can get weak contact, and then all of a sudden you see he's only has 3 innings with like 30 pitches out of nowhere. So I was kind of holding off on that
If it helps,
for those
I
games. I
think
didn't know if you had a take on those games.
I do. I think Max has a really hard night. And he doesn't seem to have a lot of run support behind him, which puts a lot of pressure on him. Dodgers are working counts. I think without even without Mookie Betts, I really don't see the Blue. I mean, they just got swept by the White Sox. So I don't really see what the Blue
No,
Jays
I
are going to
agree.
bring to the table to kind of compete here. And again, maybe they're just looking forward to the World Series rematch that they were like, who cares about
Yep.
everything else? This is what we're focusing on and all of our energy. But I kind of mentioned this earlier. Scherzer's metrics are not good. They're not in any which way, shape, or form indicative that we can trust him. He has a 17.4% whiff rate. He has an 11.8% barrel rate. His strikeouts are down. The only metrics that are good is his hard hit rate and his walk rate. Like I said before,
Yeah.
when all the metrics are down for the most part and your walk rate's good, that just means they're hitting you before you can walk them. And then the hard hit rate, that's
Exactly.
something to be on, but it's only slightly above average. It's not incredible. It's not like, oh yeah, sure. Everything else makes sense. The terrible barrel rate and the inability to get strikeouts is going to probably doom him against a very good contact team in the Dodgers. So I don't see him having a good day at all. And then
Yeah, no,
obviously
I
we
know I agree
see
with you
him
on
pull
that.
it out of his 42-year-old butt and dominate. But it's I think it's more in the minority of the probabilities to come out.
Yeah, definitely. And I will say I do have one more play in the Reds. Why one more play, and it is in the Red Sox game. But with the Scherzer thing, it sucks to see that his whiff rate is at 17 because I know he's 40 something, but as we know, in his prime. So, God, I just miss that man. You know, when I used to see him strike out 300 people, like,
I mean,
yeah, it was
yeah,
crazy.
but you also have to keep in mind that because he had so many years where he was able to rely on those pitches, sure, he's definitely changed the way he pitches. You have to when you don't have that incredible power
Oh
or
yeah,
placement anymore. But you have name brand value where people start to bet on you because they remember who you used to be. And similar to Verlander, unfortunately, you're just not that same pitcher anymore. I know that you could have good days, especially when you're fully healthy. But the deeper we get in the season, the less likely those are to come. So even if he does well today against the Dodgers, I would fade him next time out also.
yeah, definitely. And I would say my last play of the day is. Can you still hear me fine?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, perfect. My last play of the day would be we'll go and it's at a line where I like it now because yesterday it was actually inflated. So glad I waited. We'll go to the Brewers at the Red Sox. The Brewers have been right where they left off in the regular season form. I don't know if I can necessarily, crap on them for how they performed in the playoffs because they performed against the Dodgers, but their offense was atrocious against the Dodgers. But so on as everyone else about the Blue Jays. So I'm not going to try to be mean, but the Brewers look like they were last year. They're already 7-2, I believe. Their pitching has been great. Their hitting has been great. Yesterday, they did. I say they pretty well, but something they always do, and they did last year, they work the hell out of starting pitchers. I think they've only had one pitcher go this year out of the nine. It was like Nick Martinez. Last year, they actually set an MLB record. I forgot what it was exactly at one point during the season where they had the most consecutive games with like pitching 6 innings against them or like really reaching the 6 inning. So and Brian Bayo has not been great necessarily. Last year, he would pitch usually in the 6 inning and it was towards like the middle of the year. He pitched in the 6 inning, pitched 6 innings or even 7 innings. But I trust, I trust the Milwaukee Brewers to get him out early because they are really good at drawing walks, getting hits, and especially friendly park, I would say, like the Red Sox, because some people may not say the Red Sox hitter friendly, but I think it's pretty hitter friendly for the especially pull siders and the ability to hit in the gap. The Red Sox biggest strength is probably their outfield speed, but I trust the Brewers to get Bayo out at 15.5. I think this line's too high for a Brewers team.
I agree. I kind of broke down this game earlier. I think that the public is fading them because they got rid of their ace and Freddie Peralta, but they're doing what they did last year, just like you said. They're playing small ball. They're probably the most fundamentally sound team in all of baseball. They understand how to get the bunts down. They understand how to work the counts, and they understand how to work the pitching, the starting pitcher out of the game so that they can face the bullpen. I think this is a great play, and I did put a quarter unit on the first five line. I think it was minus 125 or something like that. But Bayo is not. I do expect him to positively regress, but I don't know necessarily think it's going to be against the Brewers. I think this is a good matchup. All right, so there's only one game that we haven't talked about this entire show, and that's Detroit, Minnesota. Do you have any thoughts on Casey Mize or Joe Ryan here?
Yeah, that is interesting, and no, I do agree with you. I expect Bayo to positively regress. But something I will say about that real quick is, hey, Bayo could have a good game, but like just like they did to Bubic yesterday, Bubic only gave like 3 runs, but he had 96 pitches after like 5 innings, so they
Oh
had
yeah,
to take him out. Yeah,
100%.
I think it'll be like
I
that
think it's
kind
a
of
sharp
game.
play. I do think
Yeah,
fading Bayo's outs is a very sharp play. And again, I do like him overall in the season, right? He's going to find his
yeah,
footing again. But again, this is just
wrong
not
team
the
though.
matchup for him. This is a contact heavy Brewers team.
Okay, you said
It,
Casey Mize. You said the Tigers game, right?
yeah. This is the only game that we really haven't talked about, I think, in show.
Oh, yeah.
I did almost want to take. I have to debate giving this out. It's at plus 1,000. So let me think about it. But yeah, I'm afraid of fading Joe Ryan. His metrics aren't where they were last year, but there's still some flashes there. Detroit's been incredible. I mean, I think I talked about this preseason. I think they're going to be a darling in the postseason. But yeah, tell me what you think, bro.
Yeah, so Casey Mize is a very interesting type of pitcher. He's really a pitcher that um what is this like? He's not really a strikeout pitcher, and my like from what we've seen, he had a really weird game. I'll never forget against the Twins last year, where I think he had like 6 innings pitched, but he also gave up he gave up like 4 runs on 4 hits, but he also had 10 strikeouts. But and I think he faced him like twice. In the other game, he had like 4 Ks. But he's one of those guys that you will get contact against him. He'll sometimes strike people out. But the thing about him is he can be very predictable. If he's on, Casey Mize is on. There's really no in between with him. This guy will either, pitch 4 to 5 innings and give up like 4 runs, or he'll pitch 3 innings and give up like six, or he'll pitch like 6 innings and give up two. So it's just something the Twins need to do is they need to make sure they are on top of his fastball, because I don't think his fastball is that great necessarily. So, and then they need to be able to read his breaking pitches. The key look at this game. If you see Casey Mize breaking ball is breaking like it should be breaking, the Twins are going to be hard. The Twins are going to have a hard time. But if you see his breaking balls is not breaking, he's not locating it right, then I think the Twins will be able to knock him around.
Yeah, I think that's a sharp look, and that's very true. I think it's very true. Um, what is interesting about Casey Mize to me is his extension. So when you're watching his pitches on Baseball Savant, which you should all do if you're watching these games live, you just want to kind of track how their pitches are doing, what their movement is on the splitter, the slider, how fast is their four seam fastball. You can see that pitch by pitch on Baseball Savant. I would look at his ground ball rate and his extension. If he's getting good ground ball rates and he's getting his strikeouts, that's really great. If he's struggling with his extension though, an extension for those who are maybe not as familiar, it's at what point during his pitch windup does he release the ball? And the better the extension, the closer to the batter he releases the ball, the harder it is to see where the ball is going to be. And if it's a fastball, it gets to you much quicker than someone with a lower extension kind of gets to. And that really has been one of his strengths. And if he can get that combination of great extension, great ground ball rate, I mean, this guy is almost untouchable. But then there are days where it's just not quite right and there's nothing that he can do, and he just gets
Yep.
blown out of the water. And that's kind of your concern there. So yeah, I agree with your analysis, and it's not exactly something that I would take, but I kind of lean Detroit's side here just from their offensive capabilities. And again, the Twins are not a team that I'm going to be looking to back very often this year.
Yeah, and I'll say one more quick thing. You can say the same thing probably about. Well, I think Joe Ryan's, of course, a better pitcher than Casey Mize, but something about Joe Ryan, he has a high fly ball rate, and it's like you said, kind of for Logan Gilbert. Look to see how hard they're hitting Joe Ryan's balls, too, especially. And then something I will mention too, by the way, historically, I looked it up and double checked. A lot of the Twins roster has struggled against Casey Mize. Personally, like Matt Wallner is 1 for 9 with like 6 Ks. Royce Lewis is 0 for 3. But the person who's had the most success and a good sample size, Byron Buxton is 7 for 10 with 2 doubles and 2 home runs and 4 RBIs and 5 Ks. So he either gets, it seems like, extra base hits against him, and 7 for 20 is good, guys. It's a 350 batting average. He either gets extra base hits or he strikes out, basically. So, yeah.
Yeah. All right. You want to hear my little sprinkle here? I got to put 0.1 units on it. And this was really just because it was on my model. I'm building a home run model like that I used last year. I'm trying to refine it for this year, trying to add specific pitches that you can see how batters will respond to specific types of pitchers. Dylan Dingler at plus 1,000, I think is worth a home run look here. His batted to ball ratio is elite right now. You're going to be getting someone whose range should probably be in the plus 5 to 600s, at almost double the perceived value that I see. At least I think he is an excellent look to hit one deep. He has a 29.4% barrel rate, which is among the elite of the elite in the MLB. He has a 5.9% solid hit percentage rate. That's phenomenal. Like this guy is underlying metrics are where you want it to be, and getting a plus 1,000 on the odds here is just too good of a value to pass up. I think Dylan Dingler is a really solid home run opportunity. And again, my home run pick of the day is a little bit easier, I guess you would say, at James Wood at plus 480. Again, I talked about that earlier against Andre Palante and the sinker. But I think this is a solid look if you're looking for maybe a little sprinkle at plus 1,000. How do you like them apples, Drew?
Oh yeah, I always love Dylan Dingler. Dylan Dingler, the Dinger. He for a short portion, he was the only person that had a Tigers home run, and then Kerry Carpenter crew entered the chat. So I can never doubt that man. That man is having honestly a great defensive and hitting season so far. So that's awesome. I like it.
Yeah. Can we also talk about how this ABS system is working for the catchers? I think it's incredible that everyone thought that this was going to be a nightmare situation for umps, a nightmare situation for catchers, but it's actually made them more valuable. And I think it's actually helped the umps' reputations, because we're looking at the ABS system, which calls get overturned, and for the most part, they're fractions of centimeters apart, and we're seeing them do a pretty good job. I don't think that we've seen anything egregious.
Oh, I
Granted,
agree.
Angel Hernandez isn't here anymore, so that helps with the accuracy. But I
Oh
think
yeah.
they've done a pretty good job so far. No.
No, I definitely agree with you. And honestly, if you take away CB Buckner, I would say it's stuff. Yes, definitely. He's an outlier in my personal opinion. Full offense to him. I'm not going to say no offense. But no, but definitely, this is amazing. I think I was listening to a Yankees game. Even the Yankees announcer, I think it was the not the announcer, but the non play by play guy. I think it was. I forgot who. I think it was David Cohn or something that was talking about it. He said that if anything, this is going to show how good these umps are, because like you look at it, it's literally like less than an inch. Sometimes they get it right and stuff like that. And the fact that only 55% are overturned, that shows you how good the umps are. I'm gonna try to stress, of course, to listeners, that doesn't mean it's only 55% are overturned. That doesn't mean the batters and the pitchers know more. Because if you think about it, if teams lost both their challenges, then we won't know what else they were to challenge after that. So it could have dropped more. So if anything, 55% is just proving how good these umps are that they'll only return. Because people thought it was going to be like 80% would be overturned from challenges. And something I noticed about the ABS system too as well is some of these players. Do you know who the best player in the MLB with at least 10 challenges is? It's Logan O'Hoppe. He's 9 for 10. That's like absurd. But yeah.
Well, we talked about this preseason, and we talked about this as the season has progressed. The elite players are going to get better with the system.
Yep.
Like people like Juan Soto, Aaron Judge, people who can correctly see what the strike zone is and really feel comfortable challenging it are going to have the most benefit from this. Besides the catchers, obviously, because they're the closest to the frame of where the strike zone actually is. I love seeing this again with Judge, and I'm sorry, I'm a Yankee fan, so I have to talk about it. He was getting a lot of low called strikes in past seasons because he's just so damn tall. He's a monster.
Yeah, it's so
So
hard to judge. Oh,
yeah.
sorry. And then no pun intended. I
Pun
actually
that
did
should
not
have been
mean to do
intended
that.
and was excellently delivered.
Yeah.
But you're starting to see umps also have to adjust towards the actual strike zone instead of it being more of a variable, which you can argue as a maybe as a traditionalist that's bad. You always want to have a personality behind the plate, but I think overall this is just the beginning, and I think it's going to be better overall for it. I'm a little bit scared to see how AI is going to integrate into the ABS system and how it's going to affect the rest of the rules and changes. Which obviously, baseball has a really strong union, which is a whole other soapbox of mine I'm not don't necessarily appreciate, but I'm sure that they'll be able to figure it out. But the fact that this came into fruition at all shows that at least to some point there is some need for it. We couldn't just go on forever watching balls being called strikes and strikes being called balls and just wrong plays when we have the technology to clearly see that that wasn't the right play.
No, I agree
Like,
with you.
it was
Yeah,
it was ridiculous last year. Even in the World Series, you're like, well, that wasn't a strike,
yep.
and there's nothing you can do to argue about it. It just wasn't a strike. It was called a strike, or whatever the play was. It wasn't. It was just funny being able to see with the technology that we have that the play was wrong. But hey, this is baseball. We just got to go with it. So I'm happy that that era is starting to end, but sad that personalities and the room for adjustment is kind of changing now as well. So got to take the
Well,
good with the bad.
something I will say too is that I know, of course, you probably know, of course, as a baseball fan, but like a lot of, I would say, fans that will watch the game, and stuff, they don't realize that um, the ump accuracy has increased every year, like since they've been measuring it. I think it's like 2000 something, where like it used to be in the 60s and 70% accuracy for umps, and now it's like in the high 80s for accuracy. And it's just the problem is that changed ever since they added that box on TV and it made everyone umpires at home. And they've stressed multiple times that box is not always accurate, but now they've made it accurate to meet when they have the box on TV to meet the ABS system. But the ABS system is like in the middle of like the plate versus the front of the plate. And then like I saw, for example, that wrong call that was called, from Mason Miller to Dominican Republic. If you actually like watched it from the side view, I watched it too. That box on TV was showing it from the front of the plate, right? I don't know, no, from the back of the plate, if that makes sense. And if you watch it, that ball broke once it reached the back of the plate. So
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Yeah.
100%. I mean, we have
Yeah.
this in my softball league where the ball could literally hit the plate, but it could still be called a strike because it dropped
Yep.
through the strike zone.
Yep.
It's just that's what happens with good pitchers. Or
Yeah. Um, but oh, I'll give my sprinkle too as well.
yeah, give it to me.
Um, Perfect. We'll go to the Mariners game. We know we talked about Logan Gilbert. Something about Logan Gilbert that may not be as well known because he's a big strikeout guy and stuff like that. But he gave up 20 home runs in 110 innings last year. He gives up home runs, and he's going to be in a a better, I would say, hitter friendly park. I'm going to take a left hander here. He's probably better odds on DraftKings or FanDuel because Fanatics usually has like the worst odds of home runs. But I would do plus. I'm doing plus 410 for Jock Peterson to hit a home run. He's hit one this year, but something about Jock Peterson is he's very good at lifting, baseballs up, and he's very good at hitting the fastball and low breaking balls. And something that Logan Gilbert likes to do is throw low breaking balls, and I think if he mislocates it, Jock with his power will be able to pull it. Where Jock struggles, as we've all seen, is those outside. He struggles a lot against lefties, like a lot, and he struggles those breaking balls to the right, and he struggles on like very inside pitches to like hit. He doesn't know what to do with them, so I like this play for Jock Peterson.
Got to find my unmute button for a minute. Yeah, I don't mind that at all. I think, Texas is not a great hitting stadium overall, but a good home run stadium, which is interesting. And from
Yep.
what we've seen from Gilbert, this could be messy. He's not been himself lately. His underlying metrics show that he could have a positive regression, but what we talked about earlier, um, we're really going to see if he is able to control that hard contact, and if there's anybody who's going to be able to get through to him, it's really going to be Jock Peterson. I would take a look at maybe some of the fastball stuff. I think that's probably where he's able to get some value. I don't think that he has success against the slider or split finger. He just doesn't profile as a type of batter that can really hit Gilbert's off speed and curves stuff. But I think if he gets a fastball, he's going to be vulnerable here to hit one out of the park. All right, my long shot, or I guess my big play of the day for the home run. That's going to be James Wood here. Talked about earlier. I think he's going to hit a homer off a sinker off of Andre Palante. If I was able to actually bet what pitch he was able to hit the homer off of for like plus 20,000, I think that'd be kind of cool. But we're not there yet in the sports world. Give us a few years. Let's recap our best bets for the day. Prince of Picks, real quick, in the English Championship. Leicester City -1 against Sheffield Wednesday. Sheffield again. They've lost. They have not won in 35 straight, and they haven't won in 39 of their last 40 league games. Leicester facing relegation. This is a really good opportunity for them to get a high amount of goals really quickly. Drew, why don't you give us your best bets, and I'll finish this up and close this out.
Perfect. Yeah. My best bet is Logan Gilbert under 17.5 outs. On Stern mentioned you can get on FanDuel at plus 130. And then Brian Bayo under 15.5 outs at minus 115.
Yeah, send those to me so I can get those in on the recap screen and for my own self. Oh, I know that we're recapping here, but let me give you my San Jose Sharks 60-minute money line. How do you like that? Them apples at plus 105.
Speaking my language, I like it.
Yeah, I
I
knew I
will
was.
watch it.
I was said that you weren't here earlier because I was like, oh, come on, he definitely has some kind of
Macklin for the Hart Trophy.
analysis on this. But I think they're just going to be too high powered for Chicago, and they're coming off a loss. So I like them to kind of positively regress a lot.
Yep.
Celebrini should have a really good day. And again, like I said, it's the defensive turnovers for the Blackhawks that are really going to do them in. Even if they're competitive through two periods, that third period where the pressure really gets ramped up, that's really where you see the Blackhawks start to collapse. And I like that the Sharks are able to put that pressure on anybody, especially a team like the Blackhawks. Yeah, sorry. What you have any thoughts on that game, real
Oh yeah,
quick, before
definitely.
I move
I'm
through the
shocked.
rest of it?
Oh yeah, definitely. I like how the Sharks keep fighting. They've won 4 out of the last 5 games, so they're going to want to try to keep rolling and try their best. And also, I will say this: Macklin Celebrini for the Hart Trophy. I think he is the most valuable player in the league,
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. That
especially with
it's
Connor
been a
McDavid
lot of
being
fun.
in and out.
Yeah, the Oilers situation is a whole nother story. But in the NBA, I'm going to take Spurs -7.5, -124. I do understand that the line is moving. I still feel comfortable at -8.5 and -9, 9.5 even. Philadelphia, fool's gold, and that fool's gold included Embiid. Embiid's off the court. Just give me the Spurs all day, any day. In the MLB, taking a few first three unders. Royals, Guardians, first three under 2.5 at -135. The Braves, Angels, first three under 2.5, -125. And then I'm taking the Braves first five money line win only at -112. Give me Chris Sale. the ace. All right. Any final thoughts, Drew, before we head on out?
Nope.
All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you for listening to my ramblings for about 45 minutes here. I appreciate it. I am on break. I will be here tomorrow and I think Wednesday as well. No, maybe just Tuesday. I'll have to double check and get back to you. But Prince of Picks will be back to also host on the days that I am out. I'll definitely be back Friday with a whole host of picks. I'm very excited to see. Oh, we didn't talk about the biggest game of the night. I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. Drew, please break down UConn versus Michigan for us and what you got on this game. I'm so sorry. I meant to ask you right when you got in. I
Oh,
mean,
you're good.
March
Yeah,
Madness
definitely.
championship here. We can definitely spend an extra 5-10 minutes going over this. What do you got for this game?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. First, in the NBA, shout out to Stephen Curry for being back. I showed how much the Warriors missed him. That was, even though they lost, that was an amazing performance by him. But second, when it comes to Michigan versus UConn, I, of course, have been riding with UConn to the final as well. But I said that I believe that Michigan going to win the championship halfway through the season because I just thought they're better than everyone else. Yes, Michigan is going to be missing their best player in Yaxel. Respect to Yaxel. Yaxel did say that he would play no matter. Agent and his family were smart and told him, "Hey, you have an MC, sit. Those take a while to heal." So, but then again, on the UConn side, right when they thought they had some sort of advantage, I believe Solo Ball has a foot sprain, and we don't know about him. Not available, and he's a kind of a crucial part to their offense. But overall, for me, Michigan, I believe Michigan, regardless, without Yaxel, we kind of saw with Arizona when they didn't have Yaxel, they were still able to overpower. Not saying they're just as good without Yaxel because no one's just as good without one of the best players in college basketball, but they have a lot of cogs that are good, and they're always next man up. They are very deep. I think they're deeper than UConn as well. And I think they're just going to physically dominate UConn in the paint. They'll get Reed in foul trouble, and Reed is facing his former team too, so he'll want something to prove. Of course, Reed has been dominant, but I don't see. There's one person I don't see Reed doing a lot against personally, and that is Mara. And even Merez John can guard him, and stuff. Going to be able to space the floor. The key for UConn to win is to make sure they hit their threes because Michigan, the way they struggle and they have a chance to lose is if you are able to consistently hit your three and you open the paint more for them because they're pressing up against you. But giving me Michigan's transition offense, length, and I think even though it's hard to doubt Dan Hurley, he's the better coach, of course. I just think there's just too much talent here, and Dusty May is really good at taking advantage of the talent he has. Dan Hurley, no offense to you, you're basically going. You'll be the first person since John Wooden to win 3 out of 4. But I just think Michigan reminds me of that second UConn team we saw with Donovan Clingan, to where, hey, I think that no one's going to beat this team.
Yeah, it's hard to doubt that now. I have two plays on the game. One's a model play, one's a personal play. But something to keep in mind, you can find the spreads at -6.5 and +7.5, depending on what books you're using. So if you're getting boosts like I did, I hedged both sides. I have no risk. If we land in the middle at 7, if Michigan wins by 7, I'll win like 8 units. And if Michigan wins by 8 or more points, I'll win at least 2 or 3 units. And then I'll win nothing, but lose nothing if UConn covers the spread. That was kind of how I played it with all the boosts and things. What's your bet on the game? What are you looking at to take advantage there?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I think this is also a great live betting opportunity because I think this will be a game, I think, of runs. I think this will be one of those games where I can see UConn jumping out early and Michigan spread going down, or Michigan jumping out early and then UConn coming back. So I feel like that'll be good live betting for aspects of things. But I would say my overall bet for this game would be right. I have it right here. It would be Michigan's personally. I know this is like course variance, and I like doing these bets. But it would be their halftime, full time at -145. There's some juice here, but there's boosts I can use for this to where I can make it like a little better. But lead at half and win the full game because I think Michigan, when they're facing UConn, especially a team like Dan Hurley, they're going to want to get out early and they're going to want to win the first half because I feel like if they lose this first half, UConn's going to get all the confidence in the world. I'm not saying they're a lot, but I expect them to win the first half by 3 to 5 points. And then because usually UConn's the team that starts off slow, so that's why I was very impressed against Illinois. But I like the idea of not having to worry about a spread because I think UConn will start off slow and per so game in the Final Four. So yeah, give me Michigan halftime full time.
Yeah, I love that. I love that a lot. I'm going to definitely play that. Send that to me because I think that should be definitely an official play of ours going into the recap screen tomorrow. I
Yeah,
see this kind of what you said. I either see Michigan running away with it in transition, being able to keep the pace up, and then being able to kind of run out the game by a huge blowout margin, or UConn slows down the pace of the game, tries to keep it tenable, and then kind of jump on the fact that if Michigan's not scoring in transition, it should be a lower possession type of game where they could get an upset in the process. I personally think it's probably on the Michigan side getting the blowout more than UConn being able to control the pace of the game. We've haven't seen a team do it this year against Michigan successfully, really, at least not in the last 3 months. I really kind of like the over 143.5. That was a model play that I took. Shout out to Mike McClure, whose model that I use specifically for college basketball. What say you about the over under 143? I think the numbers ticked up to maybe 144 minus or over under 145 even at this point. What say you, sir?
yeah. The over I see on Fanatics is 146, and other books is like 145 and a half. So I would say, sure, yeah. That's a really good over Vegas. I would say because that's around it should be. If I saw it on the 150s, I would have bet I said the under, but 140s, low 140s is always good. Good thing you got a 130, 43 and a half, because I think it'll be more high scoring than people think. Not necessarily think UConn will, go shot for shot, but hey, all we need for like a 143 and a half type game is it can literally be like an game, and I can see both teams reaching 70 here. I wouldn't be surprised if Michigan, ends up winning the game, like let's say 80 to 72 or 71, and UConn comes back a little bit. So yeah, I like that a lot. I don't see UConn only being held to 60s.
I have this game projected at 149.6 points, 78-72 Michigan. So by golly, very close to what you just said. And yeah, difference of 2 points. You said 80 to 72. I have 78 to 72. It's really just a personal preference of mine. Getting the -6.5 on Michigan is the reason why I jumped on it. If this was any lower, I would not feel as comfortable. But I like to hear that we're on the same page. It's going to be definitely fun for sure, and I'm looking forward to going to the bar in the city to watch this one.
For sure. Yeah, I'm looking forward to watch it at home. Of course, be rooting for Michigan because of family, but regardless of that bias, of course, I'm going to, say go blue, and hey, if Michigan loses, shout out to Dan Hurley for having one of the most historical 4 year spans that he had. Total may be that low. It's all because of the dome aspect. It ruins people's depth perception. So it's hard. I would say the key to look at this game is how does the pace of play affect each team? Is Michigan able to speed up UConn? If Michigan is making shots early and so is UConn, I think the over is going to be well on pace. The where it could be panic zone is if you see kind of like a brick fest in the beginning and UConn is slowing down Michigan, which is impossible to do. So that's where I love that over because it's really hard to slow down Michigan the final buzzer or two. So even if they are blowing UConn out, or if it's like a close game, they're going to want to still run.
Yeah, 100% in agreement there. Just going to invite any of our listeners to come up live, ask us any questions that they want. I know we talked about a lot. We've gone for about an hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes. So that's it's been a great show. Just going to open it up to see if anybody has any questions regarding baseball, basketball, hockey, anything that you kind of want to either talk to us or give a take or give a bet. I don't know, anything that you want. This is an open show. We're not just doing this for ourselves. We're just trying to create a new type of community, which I know is cheesy, but it's not wrong. Drew, any last thoughts while we filibuster if anyone wants to talk?
No less thoughts. I'll just say, hey, let's enjoy. This is the final day of college basketball, so let's just enjoy it and officially, prepare for the MLB season, NBA playoffs coming up, and NHL playoffs coming up. Hey, I know even if you're not a fan of these two teams and stuff, or anything between Michigan and UConn, I always say you're going to sit when it's gone, because the national champ always fun to watch, and both these teams are on some historical runs. Whether it's UConn, trying to win three of the next, they've only lost. They're on their 19 game win streak past this week 16, and Michigan's looking for first title in like general. Then also, this would be the first Big Ten team in the title since 2001, and that was Michigan State. And Izzo Spartans before that was Arizona's championship team as well, and I think it was like '97. So both teams are both trying to do something that like hasn't been done in a while or hasn't, basically. So it's going to be fun to watch.
Definitely will. Will does Hurley need to win this to cement his legendary status, or do you think that he's done enough?
Ooh, um, I personally think he's done enough. I think he'll be in the Hall of Fame regardless if he loses this game. Personally, um, because it's like one of those things. Of course, I'm not saying if he wins this, he's better than certain, coaches and stuff because he has, more rings and stuff. Because like I think Izzo only technically has one ring, but hey, he carry on a legacy of UConn, and if he does win this, though, I think he'll cement his legacy maybe as like you can make an argument like a top six seven coach. Of course, he doesn't have the longevity as the others, but he's kind of reminds me of kind of like what Jay Wright did when he won a couple, and Billy Donovan did as well. So it's whether or not he can continue this after. I'm not saying he has to prove much, but if he wants to cement his legacy, I think in like the top three, it's the longevity factor, like how many. Big East titles you can win and stuff like that. But yeah, the dude should, if he wins this, could possibly be a top five coach, you could argue.
Yeah, it's been definitely been a fun run and annoying to some in their brackets. If you're watching him the last few years, just knock out your teams like he did mine. All right, let's get on out of here. Thank you guys so much for listening to the Only Bet Sports podcast on your Monday show. Looking forward to being back tomorrow for your Tuesday show. Definitely going to have a lot to talk about. We have the Masters this weekend. That's going to be really fun to kind of delve into, see if we have any best bets over there. Obviously got NCAA championship tonight. We got the hockey's playoffs. Everything Drew just said is accurate. So this is really just a great time to be a part of the sports. This is the sports equinox of the spring season. We get the sports equinox of the fall season when we add in the NFL to baseball. That's a lot of fun. But anyway, thank you guys so much for listening. Please find us on Spotify, YouTube, podcasts, anywhere, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you can find podcasts. We're on. Look out for Drew on Twitter, DrewDelucchi1. Look out for me on Substack at SternBets. Thank you guys so much and have a wonderful day.